Welcome to ModCast, an official podcast of Apolyton Civilization Site.
Wouter Snijders,
Kenneth, Ferland,
Tony Kiehl,
Oscar, Velzi.
Welcome to episode 6. You guys wanted to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
wait, roll call time. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah, roll call time. Definitely roll call time. Today, it is episode 6 of ModCast, an official PolyCast production. Today, we've been joined by Oscar, Elhoim, Velzi.
Hello.
Kenneth, Impaler WRG, Ferland.
Reporting for duty.
Wouter, Locutus, Snijders.
hi.
And me, Tony, GarretSidzaka, Kiehl. We have a whole really large list of topics that just showed up at the last minute. Now there's like a bajillion things to talk about.
I thought we were gonna pretend we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. It's just whether the audience will believe us.
Well, you're not helping.
I never do. Today in the news, we bitched and moaned about the CFC server getting hacked.
Today, in the artist's Sketchpad, we looked at the generic Middle Eastern leader by Amra, which for the record I don't look like him. Tony was just high. The Incan Industrial Age Unit Pack by Bakuel, the Fairey Swordfish by the Coyote, and the Lizard Den by woodelf and winddelay.
And today in the Code Corner, we look at two mods. The Leonardo's Workshop by Go and the Route Restrictor by Skype.
In the Cartography Room, we talk about Locutus's Earth 1643 map. And that's Locutus, not Locutus.
In the Modder Spotlight today, we talk about the Next War mod for the BTS expansion. Here's what's been making the news in the Civ community. So, the CFC servers got hacked actually during the exact same time we were recording the last episode of ModCast. Do you guys remember? We were trying to open files and nothing was opening and none of the screenshots were working.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It was sucky.
That was extraordinarily sucky.
Damn you hackers. Elite hackers.
Yeah, that's why I heard it got hacked. I PM'd Thunderfall after all that happened. It was like, hey, what's going on? And he said that the server that hosts CFC, which I believe is called Telefragged, they got hacked and someone just went, I guess, format C or something awful like that. You know what I mean? The reason why there were so many missing files, including 27 of my own files, was that Thunderfall said that while they were trying to restore the database with their tape backup, 2 of the last tapes did not work. So they lost everything all the way back till July of last year.
That's a lot of time.
Bummer. So I keep a copy on my own computer too of most of the stuff I've uploaded.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. You're pretty much an idiot if you didn't. So let's have a roll call. How many of us are idiots?
I do.
That's well, yes from Tony, I think.
Alright, I thought I was cool leaving it only on the server. I was like, CFC's never gotten deleted,
yeah.
so it's safe there.
Well, certainly one of the hundreds of people who've downloaded it could certainly resubmit it to you somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any of this stuff was really, really lost. Unless it was something that no one ever downloaded. At which point, hey.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if it sucks so bad it only got 0 downloads, then no big loss, people.
Well, I actually started my own thread. Say, if you download any of my garbage, would you please upload it? And I've got all but 8 or 9 files back. Not all the screenshots I got back, but I did get all but 9 or so files.
You can redo the screenshots. That's not the biggest deal, I guess.
The interwebs, the ultimate backup.
The interwebs.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys lose anything?
Well,
Yeah, I lost the BTS version of Better Ship Scale. but I had it in my computer and uploaded it again.
Isn't July of last year when Beyond the Sword came out?
Yeah, pretty much.
All the BTS mods are gone.
It's everything up to July 20 of everything from July 23 on, and BTS was released on July 24, if I recall correctly. So,
Well, that sucks.
yeah, that's...
How can you not have a backup, though? I mean, like, why would you use tape backup either? I mean, like, why tape backup?
Yeah, that does seem a little bit odd to me, but yeah, I mean, you gotta store that stuff somewhere, and it's a lot of data. I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess until those tapes actually crap out, the server companies is, hey, why not store someone's data on that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like, we got all these old 1970s gigantic refrigerator-sized things with huge spools of tape in them, and like, until the thing blows up, we're going to use it. And it finally did.
It's not that unusual to still use tape for backups. I mean, it's nice and compact and doesn't require electricity to keep it running or anything like that. I think Dan may also have parts of Apolyton backed up on tape still, but we also have backups elsewhere, so...
Oh, well, I'd just say buy a Blu-ray burner and start burning up the Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's that wasn't available until very recently, and even now it's rather cost prohibitive.
That's true.
In a couple of years, that's a good option, but...
Okay, but any word on us capturing these hackers? Have the authorities found them?
Well, for some reason, I'd be inclined to agree.
It doesn't seem terribly likely, I have to say. I mean, you do have... Apolyton is also under, probably just like CFC, on a constant barrage of hackers from... Indeed, usually Eastern Europe or China, places like that, but those are all just bot systems, and all they're interested in is spreading their own bot software. So if they do infect you, and this has happened to Apolyton once or twice in the past, fortunately not very recently, but they install their own bot software or their email spam software or something like that. They're not interested in your data. They're only interested in using your system as a bot. If someone actually hacks your system and starts deleting stuff, that's really a deliberate malicious act. You don't hear of that too often, I have to say. I have no idea. Yeah.
So who would be an enemy of CFC? Wouter?
We deny all responsibility.
The Civ site last Thursday claimed responsibility for the hacking attack last Sunday.
Yeah, I think not. I don't think anyone who's even remotely sane would do something like that. And this is such a terrible, terrible thing to do. And how low do you have to sink? I can't imagine. Even the worst troll. I mean, we have some trolls on Apolyton. I can't imagine even the worst of them doing something like this and destroying so many man-hours of work. That's...
Yeah, they all dependent on that site too, because Apolyton's server, our database is a lot suckier than CFC's, I must admit.
Yeah, exactly.
They have so much more than we do.
I've got a special message. If you, hacker, are listening to this show and you thought you got away with it, we'll find you. You're a jerk. You're a dirty jerk. Go to hell. Go to hell and die.
Yeah.
The other way around.
Well, you get the picture. Stupid hacker. You cost me man-hours just re-uploading that crap. Begging people to give me my files. I'm really stupid. I don't back up my files. Could you give me a copy of the shit I released 2 months ago?
Yeah, well, if one good thing comes of this, hopefully people will start backing up their shit now.
Oh, yeah.
If nothing else, find some other place online to post them. I mean, Apolyton's file database is pretty crappy right now. We're working on that, but that's still going to take a while. But you can upload stuff to our server. We do offer that opportunity. If nothing else, there's things like you send it and other generic services where you can upload stuff.
Oh, yeah, I should have just been saving it on my external
Yeah, save it on a drive. The best thing you can do really is, as you said, find a disc. It doesn't have to be Blu-ray, but a CD, DVD, whatever kind of burner you have in your system. And if you don't have one, buy one. They're not expensive. And burn them on CD. That's really the safest way. As long as you remember that those CDs do tend to degrade over time, so you do have to make backups of those backups on a periodic basis. But yeah, make backups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
it's all getting too preachy with the backups. Let's move on to the next topic.
Got news? Email news@apolyton.net or send a private message to Dan Q, Locutus, Graham Latroll, or one of the other news editors. Artist Sketchpad, where we discuss graphics and artwork from the SIB modding community.
Let's see. There is a leaderhead that is first on our list, and it's labeled, the thread is labeled Generic Middle Eastern Leader. And I have to tell you that this leaderhead, if you took Oscar and gave him like a really huge turban, it looks like him.
It does, doesn't it?
No, I'm much more pretty. Come on.
Yeah.
It's insulting.
This is true.
He looks like Antonio Banderas.
It may be me after a big party with a lot of sex and drugs, but completely wasted.
If you were walking around with a giant turban on, like, you would have to be drunk.
Yeah.
So that would be you during most of our recordings?
Which you are you talking about? Are you talking about me and how drunk I get, or how drunk Oscar gets?
Well, I was talking about Oscar, but it would probably refer to you as well.
Well, I had a party tonight, and I just woke up, and, well, let's leave it there.
So that's why he was late.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's mention that this one is made by Amra, who's a big leaderhead maker. He's made tons of them. I don't know what he based this one off of. Do you guys know?
He did a good job. I mean, it looks like the Beyond the Sword Ottoman leader's hat.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he took that from, what's the guy's name? Suleiman?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but the rest of the leaderhead, I can't place it. It's got a kind of a big nose, and a goatee to him, but
Yeah, it's...
I don't know either.
It's based on Suleiman.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
if he mesh-headed Suleiman that much, he did a good job.
it still looks like the back of his collar around his shirt is
Yeah,
missing. It's like
that's a little mistake there.
interesting. So I guess his clothing there on the front is only on the front side. It's not wrapping around the back sufficiently.
It might be, or you might be looking, if you look at the underside of a mesh, undersides of meshes are often not skinned, and that just makes them completely transparent.
Yep.
Ah, I see. Interesting.
So that's kind of a weird thing about models. But, yeah, I think it's interesting that he named it Generic Middle Eastern Leader instead of, picking a historical figure. But that's kind of useful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's actually trying to go for simply a generic leaderhead that can be used for other mods very generically. Maybe he'll do a whole set. Generic African, Native American, European, Asian leaderheads. So we'll get like a set of 5 or 6 of these guys.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
He said he made it for his mod pack.
Oh.
Yes.
It says he wanted it to be Idris II of Maghreb.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's ridiculously obscure Middle Eastern leaderhead.
I have no idea what I just said. Whoever that is, you've now been honored 1,000 years later on this forum.
That's just an average Saturday for you, Tony.
Isn't it Sunday already? What day is it?
Well, depends on where you live, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Next piece of art.
We've got, looks like crap loads of angry Incans, except for instead of being like Incans ended up, which are all basically dead, these guys have like cannons and grenades and muskets.
Yes, they're the middle, well, the industrial age, I guess, where you get that Grenadier rifleman, cavalry, cannon age, all for the Incan civilization. And they look pretty darn Incan, yet they're nice and advanced, and I think it makes a very nice balance between, extending a civilization that's essentially wiped out at the Stone Age, into hypothetical, future ages, such, which is always tricky. Like, when we did the Native American elephant.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys remember that? The Native American elephant? Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So they've got the nice hats, they've got, the clothing, it's, like the cavalry guys, they got the nice crested hats, the gold on them, and the clothing is, kind of a little more toned down. It's this kind of checkered pattern with, kind of a gray overtone to it. But yeah, it's something you can really see as being, realistic.
I like that among the uniforms you see a consistent pattern with the checkerboard on parts of the various skins. So that's kind of adds some.
Well, Tony, that's because he used the same model for the horseman and the musketman. He just put the musketman on the horseman.
Yeah, but I like how
to make it like
how it looks very consistent, like as if the Incans mobilized a uniform army.
True, but I would actually like to see the cavalryman's uniform be a little more embellished than the musketman's uniform. A little more embroidered to indicate his higher status.
Or maybe a gold breastplate.
Is cavalryman supposed to have armor like that? I thought that was with the
Cuirassier.
Curious or
Curious,
something like that.
Cuirassier, yeah. Cuirassiers have metal armor, but cavalry is supposed to be beyond the age of armor.
True dat.
Yeah, and the cannon guys look good too.
Now, who did this? Bakuel.
And
That's how, like Scott Bakuel, the guy from Quantum Leap.
That's Scott Bakula.
Whatever.
But yeah, this is awesome. He's prolific, and they just need to find a.
Of course, he sucked in that new Star Trek, so he sucked.
Yeah, new Star Trek was all about rubbing down Vulcan chicks with oil.
Yeah, and really bad writing. Okay, next artwork.
We have. Now, this one should be especially good for you, Ken. It's the Fairey Swordfish.
I don't get it.
I tried to say that you're a fairy, but it didn't work.
No.
Okay. That didn't make any sense at all.
Let's cut that.
I ain't cutting nothing. I'm going to cut you saying, let's cut that.
When I saw the name, I thought about a swordfish with fairy wings, like flying with, I don't know, with magical something. But a swordfish, not a plane. Yeah, the dust, the
and
magical
don't forget
dust.
the dust.
And then the swordfish flying with the little wings like a fairy, but it was a plane. Oh.
Okay, let's be clear. This is a World War I biplane, essentially. Who is it by? British? It looks like British because it's got the little RAF things on it.
We need to ask the Coyote to definitely go make a second version that is a flying fish with wings. It would be a great addition
Fairy
to the
wings.
community.
Little small wings, transparent.
Does anyone know the historical use of this plane?
It was a torpedo bomber. It was a Navy plane.
Must be why they had it named after a fish.
So, yeah. And it was actually not a World War I era plane, but more close to World War II. It was kind of outdated at the time, but still used. It was the plane that crippled the Bismarck. So that's what it's most famous for.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, as far as I know they were.
So these were launched from other ships?
Yeah, but it was already pretty outdated by that time. It was sort of an interbellum aircraft that was still used early on in the war. But yeah, I assume that has something to do with it as well.
So that's why they would still be using a biplane in World War II, because a biplane can take off in a very short distance.
Yeah, they were undergoing some major changes.
Well, also, the navies, by the time of World War II, were already somewhat outdated. So this is by the Coyote, who is very new to the community, and he's only got 65 posts, but most of those posts are new units.
Oh, cool. Slick.
Yeah.
Well, this is very professional for someone who's, just started up. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I would expect from, like, Snafu or stuff like that. Guys who've been at it for a long time. Maybe a new hot guy to watch in the forums.
Yeah. No, this is awesome.
Yeah, it looks
very
amazing.
awesome.
The texture work is pretty cool.
There's actually, I'm glad that you did the job of picking this topic out for me, because he had like 5 or 6 units or so in the last update. and I couldn't pick from them. They were all really good.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And the last bit of artwork I wanted to have us look at is by Woodelf, and it says Winddelay, and it's called Evil Lizard Palace. It is freaking cool.
Having a look at it now. Wow, it definitely has a lot of accoutrements to it. There's this... Well, to describe it to you, there's this terraced pyramid, a step pyramid with a giant claw-like thing coming out of the top of it, opening in there, ramp out the front.
Yeah.
Little skulls littering around it, vines growing up the side of it, giant pools of... What are those in the front? Just algae, I guess. Ponds in front of it.
Maybe lilies.
Yeah. With little ramps, so I guess the lizard can walk into them. Skulls, more skulls lying around in the front. And, is that like a little encampment to the side, or is that a different...
I would assume it isn't, though. That seems a bit unlikely.
I don't know. If that's part of the same one, that would be pretty freaking cool.
Yes. Yeah. I have to agree.
A very small detail I noticed is that he apparently even edited the shadow file to the building.
Yes. I can see that. The shadow definitely matches the building quite nice.
This one I was just like, whoa, that is so cool. I remember we covered his crypt a while back, and this one reminds me of that and how cool it is, but definitely a better texture.
And he said this is made for the Fall from Heaven 2.111.11 mod. It's actually for an add-on to Fall from Heaven.
Yeah.
People make add-ons to Fall from Heaven now.
Yep.
It's like, when your mod has mods for it, then you know you've arrived.
That is hilarious. As again, this is Woodelf and his little friend Winddelay help him with the textures. Cool. That's all I can say.
All it needs is a little bit of blood on it, Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could go with like splatters of blood. That would be cool.
And more bones.
I was about to say that. You read my freaking mind.
It's like there's skulls everywhere, but where are the rest of the bones? We need a good mix of rib cages, thigh bones, things like that.
Is that a bone in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me, Ken?
Welcome to the Code Corner, where we discuss Python and SDK mods.
Alright, Ken. We're in your neck of the woods now.
Ooh. You belong to me now.
Or your code that belong to us.
All your mods all belong to us.
Well,
Okay.
that's the hacker.
He makes some of these effects on these mods way too complicated.
Oh, well, by the way, this is also Gur, who I think we covered a mod of his last week as well. And, of course, Wouter. Gur is a character from a cartoon, and the character is his avatar.
Yeah, what's the name of that cartoon?
Invader Zim, that's right, Invader Zim.
Okay, so he's taken the really nice artwork that was by a fellow named Gnart, Gnart, and that was released over a year ago. The guy subsequently left the community, doesn't post very much, but he did some really beautiful building artwork. And this Leonardo's Workshop has been used in a couple of other mods. I think it's based on Civilization 3, which had a Leonardo's Workshop.
3 or...
And then Gur has created a Python XML combo effect he's attached to it. And the effect is Leonardo's Workshop provides 20% chance that a unit in your territory upgrades for free if it's in a city or a fort, or gets a free upgrade promotion if it's not in a city or fort. This only happens when you turn you to the wonder in which you complete the wonder. After you finish the wonder, you have a 99% chance to get a free upgrade promotion after winning a fight in your own territory. A unit with the promotion only has to go to a city or a fort to upgrade for free. A unit needs at least one upgrade possibility. The unit can be upgraded now. It doesn't get a free promotion. Blah, blah, blah. Random upgrade if more than one upgrade is possible.
So basically, when you build this, it upgrades?
It's a Python fired off window, so it gives you a promotion right away in 20%, and you got a good chance to get a promotion after that. I'd have to play that to really see what it feels like. But it is similar to a window I did once that just gave you a free promotion to everything you had.
Now, how does that work? Because some units aren't technologically ready to upgrade.
It's an
Oh,
upgrade.
I'm sorry, not an upgrade. I had one that gave you a promotion. So an upgrade is different. I'm sorry.
So this is given upgrades, right?
Yeah.
But he calls it the upgrade promotion. I don't know why he calls it that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does.
Well, that'd be really freaking cool.
You get a upgrade promotion, and you can go to a city or fort and upgrade there for free. So that's it's pretty neat effect.
That could be a modder's code corner just by itself.
Well, the problem with that is that it's slightly overpowered, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it needs to have all those. You have a 20% chance to do this, and then a 95% chance to do that. Just upgrade all my units for free. I mean, like, wham!
Well, although I guess in Civ 2 it was way overpowered, but you had unlimited free upgrades for the rest of the game. And if you only get one free upgrade, you might be able to just give every unit a free upgrade. I mean, one free upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, how much gold are we talking about here? That's the equivalent amount. It'd save you a couple thousand gold, perhaps, but hey.
If you're in the middle of a war, I mean, it can really save you a lot of gold. If you're a builder and you don't have that many units.
That's if you really had a lot of obsolete units. And if you just hit the tech that lets you go, it's like you just had the next tech level, and then you got the wonder built right after you got the tech.
Yeah, I think this is actually pretty interesting. It's something that really adds a new strategy to the game. I mean, do you upgrade now or do you wait till you get the wonder? And of course, you have no guarantee of actually getting the wonder.
I remember you mentioning Civ 2 having the free upgrades. But Civ 3 also, if you built,
Workshop.
What was it, Sun Tzu's Art of War and I think Leonardo's Palace, you would get very cheap upgrades in all your cities for that time on.
No, I didn't play Civ 3 very much, so certainly only the original, and that didn't have that. I think that was added in an expansion of some sort.
Well, I had a Colt Armory one where it would make the cost of upgrading 50% after you'd built the one.
Yeah, do forever give you a bonus on unit upgrading. That's a pretty strong effect. Give you a one-time upgrade bonus. That's sort of that's contained. I mean, it's not overpowered.
The route restrictor. We talked about one before, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Now this one is by a completely different person, and it's an SDK-based one. The author is Sheikh. Yeah, how do you pronounce that?
Skype? It's like talking on Skype, except for Skype.
So this one uses XML parameters that have now been added to the system. You can deal with a possible route needed, or passable route needed, and then passable routes. I mean, you can make a route would be required for the unit to move on. So you can create units that can only move on roads, only move on rails, or only move on rails and roads. So you can do things like create a railroad thing. It could be like a transport, and you put a unit in it, and then it moves on the railroads. And the units themselves don't just fly down the railroads for no reason. They actually have to get in a railroad car. Or you can do those giant railroad artilleries that the Germans loved. And I think I went over all the possibilities before in the first mod, but this one's got a different code system, so it's cool. Woo.
I don't think he mentions Zebra's mod, so it seems that these might have been developed independently of each other.
Oh, perhaps. Oh, and this will also probably run faster because a Python-based mod has to call out, on every unit move action to check and get a callback and say, okay, can it move there or not? Whereas this is operating within just C code and would run faster.
Well, it still gets called every time a unit calls, presumably. Only it's in C++, so it would save you some performance in this case. That's definitely true.
Skype is pretty cool guy. I have done some modding with him in the past. I know I did, I think, a request or two for him. And, I didn't know he did C++, but apparently, too, he does C++, which is awesome.
And our last mod is... I forgot already.
In the Cartography Room, we talk about maps and simple scenarios.
Someone posted a World Builder Save scenario called Earth 1643 AD by Locutus, and not to be confused with Locutus. And
yeah.
Now, I'm going to let you know right now, I have played this mod.
Woohoo, good for you.
Scenario, I should say.
Yeah, me too.
And
we can't have that.
I thought the map was cool. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. If you have anything idiotic to say, that completely vetoes anything sensible. You realize that, right?
Well, in this case, I think I've said enough silly things today.
When I played it, I was just struck by the power of Beyond the Sword to create a world builder scenario and make it have real flavor. Like, the ethnically diverse units never impacted me as much as when I played this scenario, which has no XML as far as I can tell in it.
Nope.
But still has the flavor of a fully done mod with full custom artwork, but it's really just Beyond the Sword graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But you are very much restricted to specific types of maps, specific types of scenarios. I mean, as soon as you want to add a nation that's not very similar to something that's already in the game, you're pretty much screwed. Generally, world builder only maps tend not to work very well because you're so restricted in what you can do with the map and with adding new stuff. But Earth scenarios, yeah, they're perfect for it. I mean, you have everything already there. The game has 34 civs for you to choose from real history. And with a little bit of renaming, you can get quite creative. And Locutus has gotten pretty creative. It's a very well, very detailed map. A lot of he clearly did a fair bit of research for it. There's things in it that are perhaps not terribly obvious, but that took names of various colonies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like there are a variety of colonies on the New World. I mean, they've got Spain's got a little bit here. Everyone's got them. Even the Dutch have New Amsterdam. So it's all ready for you to start battling over the New World. It's not like you have to go sail over there and discover everything and da-da-da. So you've already got like a toehold there. And I think there's big old blob of green in the middle map, so there's still Islam is fighting you in the Middle East, and China, Japan, Russia, everyone's kind of competitive here, it looks like. They still got India in there, and Persia, and...
India is really the part that is sort of weird to me, because I played a game with the Mughal dynasty, and that's, I mean, half of India belongs to Denmark, and it's like, and that really doesn't make sense, especially not for this year. Denmark did have some trading posts in the area, but if you have to choose between giving the only 10 or so cities that fit in India to England, to the Netherlands, to Portugal, to France, to Denmark, to the Mughal, or to the barbarians, I mean, Denmark is at the very bottom of my list. So yeah, that's kind of weird.
From the map I'm looking at, it looks like the Denmark only has 1 or 2 cities, and the English have more than that.
No, Denmark has like 3 or 4 cities in the immediate area around India, I think. I think with one of the islands, and a couple of cities on the mainland. And that, yeah.
I can see they've got a lot in Indonesia, but that makes sense.
No, that's the Dutch, I believe, unless I'm...
The Dutch? Oh. Dutch, the Netherlands, I always get those two confused.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some other oddities in there, like Bombay, that was granted to the English only in, I believe, 1680 or thereabouts, and here in the game it's already English. It should be Portuguese, but those are minor details. But yeah, sort of the big scheme of things, I suspect that Locutus, or whatever it's called, might be Danish, because it's a little pro-Danish, this map, a little Danish-centric, shall we say.
Well, you know, they only get one city in Europe because they're so small. So you had to give them a lot of places outside of Europe for them to be competitive, I think.
Again, you're confusing the Danes with the Dutch.
But still, if you look at their distance from capital...
Neither of you guys have a lot of land. You're both attached to Germany.
Whatever. The distance to capital maintenance is going to be terrible. Terrible distance to capital maintenance.
Yeah, that's in this case. I have to say I haven't played with the Dutch. I tried to, but the game crashed on me. I'm not sure. Maybe there's something wrong with the world builder file there. That could be a problem for the Dutch. I imagine you might want to give them state property as a default civic to negate that a little bit.
Well, when I started the game, I didn't have crap for economics, so you're a long way from state property when you start this one.
I don't know what civ you played as. I played as the Mughal and I think one of the European civs and one China, I think. and they were pretty well, accurate for the era, I would say. I mean, they had all the medieval text and some of the Renaissance age text. But yeah, that's where you start to see the limitations of a world builder only. I mean, you really want to give the Dutch and the Danish and the English some kind of custom civic that allows them to have large empires.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really do that unless you do weird things like giving state property in the 15th, 16th century.
One other negative point, I think, pretty much sums up the pros and cons, is when I did load the map, and I'm pretty sure this is not just Locutus, this is any 32 Civ world map, it was slow as molasses.
Yeah.
And I have a dual core, smoking computer, and it was slow as molasses.
Yeah, it's really, I think the main limitation here, in your processor and stuff like that, there's a limitation as well, but this game has to track so many graphics on the map. I think that's all done by a graphics card. So you really want to have a kick-ass graphics card for this one.
Another thing, Tony, I don't think Civilization 4 utilizes multiple cores, so you just run in one core.
I think I heard that Beyond the Sword actually does have some support for dual core, but I'm not entirely sure of that, but that's what I've heard.
Well, I got an 8600 GT.
Maybe it offloads a little bit, but from what I've heard, it was not really a major emphasis in the game. I think future games probably will.
It definitely wasn't designed with multi-core in mind, but I'm fairly certain it has some limited support for it. But yeah, I mean, either way...
Well, gosh, Civ 4 came out in 2005.
Either way, if you have dual core, you have at least a 2 gig processor.
When did the first multi-cores hit the market again? It was not until what?
After Civ 4 came out.
And you realize the game takes at least 2 years of development, so they had to start the core engine back in 2002 or something like that?
2003, 2004.
So they couldn't design it for multi-core processors when the multi-core processors weren't even going to be out on the market.
No, like I said, it wasn't designed with that in mind, but you can sort of add some of that stuff in later. It's definitely not going to be optimal, but from what I understood, I think even from Alex, there is some of that in there. It's obviously not going to be anywhere close to optimal. But yeah, either way, multi-core, quad-core, single-core, this is going to be one hell of a slow map. It's really... I found it's still acceptable, the wait times between turns, at least early on. I haven't played a full game to the end. I wouldn't want to either. I mean, to have to conquer the whole planet on a map this big.
What about Space Race?
Yeah, that's it's really not my type of map. I mean, anything this big. I mean, I wish there were some more smaller Earth maps. It would be a lot more fun to me personally.
He used talking about the map. He used the world map made by Rai, not the one that came with Civilization, but the one for Rise and Civilization. Rise and Fall.
Oh, cool.
With a huge Europe.
And Rise scenario suffers from the same problem. It's just such a huge map. A lot of systems can't comfortably play this. And it's just the grind of having to conquer such a huge map. I mean, you're pretty much stuck having to go for Space Race if you're not really, really hardcore about this game.
Yeah.
That's why I think the AI should just surrender to you when it's so obvious they're going to lose. It's like, wake it up!
Yeah, that's what Vassal State was for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know there are a lot of people that are into these huge maps. I mean, there's a reason Rai made this scenario, and there's a reason it's so popular, and there are other big maps that you can download from CFC's database. They are popular.
Yes. I call those people mapochistic.
Yeah. I call them batshit crazy, but that's just me.
Modding Spotlight, where we discuss and examine a particular mod out of the Civ 4 community.
I think we've all played this mod.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
What, you?
I never play mods.
Oh, Ken.
I have looked at it a couple times, though. So.
Well, the mod we're talking about is Next War for Beyond the Sword, which was released in the package of Beyond the Sword. So anyone listening who plays Civ has it. What the general scope of it is it came in two flavors. One was the Epic Next War mod, and the other was the Next War Scenario. And the Next War Scenario starts off at the tail end of the modern era with, 6 or 8 civs, or more or less generic leader heads. And the Epic game starts on a random map at the beginning of time, but when you reach the modern era, there's a great extension of the technologies and units and lots of cool little tidbits like that and neat graphics.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it that big of an extension. There's like an extra 5 or 6 technologies and units for each type kind of beyond what you get. So it's like an extra little slice of game at the end.
Yeah. If you've seen the cover for Beyond the Sword, I believe there's one of the units out of Next War on it, the
Killer
giant
robots.
the giant kick-ass robot. Those are actually the first national unit I've seen get released with a Firaxis mod or anything to come in box, where with the battle robots, you can only build 3.
Oh, really?
So
I think that's silly.
well, they have like a bajillion strength. They're like, really nothing can stop them.
Exactly. That's why I want giant armies of them.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I loaded the mod. I was like, okay, set every single city in North America building robots. And I'm like, where are all my robots? Where are my robots?
My invincible armies of death robots.
Did you take my robots, Ken?
No, you can just modify that XML parameter.
That's a 1-digit change to the whole thing. You just change one.
Change that 3
number
to a -1 and you'll be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Although the enemy civs won't be happy with it.
Now, of course, they do add a whole lot of crazy defenses in this one. There's like the domes you can build over the cities, and like the cool defense systems. Kind of reminded me of the Smack thing, where they have like
Fletchite defense system, geosynchronous defense pods, and orbital insertion, and all that other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I love the graphics for the city shields.
the giant dome.
Yeah.
Those are sweet.
Yeah, and that also it reminded me a lot of the future eras and Call to Power.
Bam, that's what I was thinking right there, Wouter.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, it also reminded me of half the anime series I've ever seen.
yeah, original.
I know
it
where
is
they
not.
got the idea from that. Or Pressure Dome. Our favorite Smack improvement.
I think that Next War is another good example of hopefully a new trend in gaming where there's cool content added with the game when you buy it at the store. You know, Beyond the Sword, you paid $30 and now you've got a game, an expansion, and a whole bunch of scenarios and mods. I think that's excellent.
Yeah. No, continue, finish.
Oh, I'm done.
Your idea. Oh.
But I know there's a mod out there that's been incorporating these domes and these people have been adding all this content to their own mods now. It's like, oh yeah, sweet, let's get that in there too. You know, the giant kitchen sink mods, you know.
yeah, there's actually quite a few mods that actually mod Next War itself, and that's why we're talking about this one. It's sort of a setup for future mod discussions that are based on Beyond Sword. Beyond Sword. And, I'm crapping out
on Next War.
On the name Next War. Thank you.
No, I agree. We were just talking about people modding Fall from Heaven. They mod this too.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I'd say it's less people modding Next War as just throwing mod Next War into their own mods.
No, they're modding Next War as well.
If their mod is of the appropriate historical period. I mean, if people are doing a narrow historical period, obviously Next War, they don't put it in. But if people are doing the big kitchen sink mod, it's like, it's just like to say that they're adding their stuff to Next War or adding Next War to their stuff. It's hard to say.
I'll tell you this. I didn't take the domed cities, but I did snag about 3 unit graphics out of Next War altogether for my mod.
Oh.
Yeah, I can see that. With some rescaling, that big, huge hopping tank unit could be pretty useful. And
yeah, I called their huge tank unit the Ultra Heavy Tank. It looks like this tank that's just way too big and slow.
And heavy.
Yes, and the excessive number of barrels tank, you know, it's like, how many barrels does that tank have? It's like a freaking porcupine.
Yeah.
Which, if you actually think about it, it is actually rather useless. If you actually look at tank design over when the very first tanks were introduced to now, the trend has been to have less barrels. You think of like the big Indiana Jones tank with the big treads on the side, and they got the little guns on the side, and the tanks had a lot of guns at the beginning, and they got fewer big guns. So I think in the future, tanks will have even fewer guns. They will only have half a gun.
How about no guns? We'll be peaceful.
They'll throw flowers.
Yeah.
I'm very Swordfish.
And the tanks will be able to deploy little grippers onto the ground and like raise up their barrel into a giant artillery piece that will blast the enemy from great range.
All right, StarCraft siege cannon. How about tanks that were like snack wagons? The tank rides to the battlefield and the side opens up and you can get hot dogs, nachos, those little tiny cinnamony things that Mexicans have. It's really good. Snack wagon.
You're thinking of armored personnel carriers now. That's a totally different thing.
No, not personnel. Just the only personnel in there is the driver and the cook.
Hey.
Okay, you've lost me now.
Hopefully.
Did you guys play the scenario? The one with the 4 big sieves?
I did.
You know, that kind of reminded me of 1984.
Yeah.
It's like, we got Oceania versus Eurasia versus East Asia. But of course, they had it all kind of screwed up. There was like Africa and South America. Like, what the hell would they be allied? It makes no sense.
No, I think they would ally. I thought that made perfect sense to me.
Really?
Yeah, because they're the brown people, the southerner brown people versus the nasty white people in the north.
Okay, well, then they get their ass kicked, too, because
Okay.
you realize they would get their ass kicked pretty badly, because, like, I think the northern hemisphere has 90% of the money and population versus 10% in the southern hemisphere.
Well, they should make robots then. That would help them out a lot better.
Okay, and who has all the robot technology?
The Japanese.
Yes, exactly.
Which hemisphere are they located in?
Well, if they defect.
They're in the middle.
Well, perhaps it's not exactly realistic, but the names of the leaders are kind of good. Like, they got Mr. Big.
The lady.
The lady.
Yeah, the names were a little kind of ambiguous there, if you asked me. It's like, wow, you know? And then there was like, what's the Asian leader?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like the glorious leader.
The Emperor?
Yeah, something like that. The glorious leader.
Glorious leader. Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
I find it hard to, I don't know, when I play in a scenario, I always like to start small, and when I start in a scenario with already 20 or 30 cities to manage, I just freak out.
Yeah, for me, this scenario was also a little too big. You were a little too established. I mean, I don't mind starting out with an existing empire, but this was a little over the top. And the only enemies you can fight are enemies that are just as huge as you are. And there's no small scores, small wars, easy wars to get you started or anything like that.
I so much prefer bottom feeding my weaker opponents.
And again, it's a big-ass Earth map. So, I mean, you gotta like that sort of stuff. I'm not all that into the future stuff anyway, so this wasn't really my cup of tea. But clearly, other people enjoy it. I mean, if there are other mods for it, then...
And I think there was no Buenos Aires. I didn't like that. What happened to...
What? No Buenos Aires?
Well, speaking of that, when I played the game, I played as Mr. Big and I invaded South America.
Yeah, well, we weren't there. There was no Argentinian city.
Oh,
Argentine city.
So I wasn't able to liberate you.
No.
Is Argentina just empty and unoccupied?
Yeah, actually, I think it was. There's some, dirt.
Perhaps there was some kind of problem here in the next years.
Like an economic meltdown.
Yeah. Well, that happened some years ago. But
Exactly, that makes sense, actually.
A second economic meltdown.
This time we're so broke that our buildings turned into dirt.
Into dust. And the wind blew them.
We just packed up and left.
Call in today. In North America, the number is 301-637-7659. That's 301-637-POLY. In Europe, 44121-288-7659. That's 44121-288-POLY. You can Skype us at the PolyCast or email us at polycast@apolyton.net.
The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
For more information on ModCast, our sibling show PolyCast, or about PolyCast in general, log on to the series' official website at polycast.apolyton.net.
Okay, now.
And whip on Argentina.
No Argentina in that mod, unfortunately. I'm going to let you know that my kid just woke up, and he's saying, "Where the heck are you?" in his own special way.
Really? We can't hear him. Closer to the mic.
Oh, that's because he's still in his crib. He's saying, "Hey, get me out of this nap, change my diaper, get me going."
Let's say.
So, Ken, you smell. Oscar, you're pretty. Wouter, you're funny.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll take that.
Ken's silent, though. Smoldering in rage. I think I need to tell Ken that he smells at least once an episode.
But I wonder, how did you know?
How do I know Ken smells? He smells so bad, I can smell him over the internet.
Wow, we really saw that one coming.
All right. Well, today we've had a extremely stacked topic list, so there was a lot talked about, and a lot of fun was had. Today, we have been joined by Oscar, Elhoim, Velzi.
Goodbye.
Kenneth, Impaler WRG, Ferland.
Farewell, forever!
Wouter, Locutus, Snijders.
See you.
And me, Tony GarretSidzaka Kiehl. And we all bid you farewell, and we hope to hear from you in the next couple weeks with topics, mail, suggestion, or just come on the show.
Record date.
March 16, 2008.
Sound clips copyright Civilization 4 and the Warlords and Beyond the Sword expansion packs. Copyright 2008 Apolyton Civilization Site at Apolyton.net.